Hello and welcome to the CX Files podcast. I'm your host, Mark Hillary. This is another bonus episode of the podcast featuring advice on how to manage the business disruption caused by the Covid-19 novel coronavirus pandemic. Jim Farnsworth is the Executive Vice President for Business Development at Sykes, based in Denver, Colorado. He has a long history of designing and managing work-from-home solutions, both before and during his time at Sykes, so I called him up to get an update on what CX executives need to be doing right now. Okay, Jim, thanks for being on this bonus podcast. First, before we talk about some of your opinions on what people need to be doing, how has Sykes responded so far?
First of all, Mark, thanks for the opportunity to be on. It's always a great pleasure to talk to you, and I hope you're safe and secure as well through all this madness. Sykes has done in my opinion, obviously, as part of their senior team, I'm very impressed with how our team has pulled together. We have done a number of mitigation efforts over the last week as we've dealt with closures around the world, from Manila to Europe to Latin America to the U.S. now. We've first of all converted tens of thousands of our bricks and mortar agents able to work from home almost overnight. With our technology setup teams and enablement teams doing work that's just spectacular and continues to be. So to see the numbers of our 54,000 that we've been able to convert over is just spectacular, and that's above and beyond the 8,000 or so that we already have globally working at home full time. So that was first and foremost. And then for those that have remained in our facilities, we have been able to identify ways to match and actually exceed the distancing requirements that the governments have put in place for us. So we've spread them out. We're able to take advantage of wider distances because we've sent so many people home. Those that, there's certain clients that won't let it go home, and we've been able to accommodate that. And then the ingenuity of our teams globally is just impressive. We have team members in the Philippines, for example, who have been willing to stay in short-term apartments so that they can walk to a location to work, and not have to go through the checkpoints and not get caught up in the lockdown, which the government, of course, has allowed us to do. And at the highest levels of our company, we've been meeting with government officials around the world to make sure that we can continue to work as safely and legally as possible. And we're very pleased with how that's going.
That's great. That's fantastic. Okay, I saw you talking about this on LinkedIn, and you mentioned something that you called the 4 S's. So what are they, and why do they matter?
Sure. Well, Mark, I've been doing work at home stuff for a long, long time. That's how you and I first met, including, once owning a company that I have since sold that my business partner and I worked with over 100 companies to set up their work at home. So I kind of took advantage of that experience and just jumped on it a little bit. The point is that whether you are the worker at home or whether it's the company having workers at home, think about it from an easy way to think about it is the concept of 4 S's: safe, secure, supported, and successful. And there's elements of each of those, and I'll be brief and won't belabor them. But within safe, it's make sure you have a consistent work area. This is not something that you can do, working in 6 different places or laying in bed doing it or lying on your back on the couch. Find a place that's consistent, that you can set up, that you can be properly ergonomically safe, that you can keep your cords and things out of the way, that you can organize and have a nice workspace. And I even recommend to people to personalize it. If I were on camera with you, you'd see that my home office has hockey sticks and, things like that, because I'm a hockey fan and, fan memorabilia. It makes it more personal for me. It makes me feel like I'm more work focused and that sort of thing. So that's really where safe comes in. Secure is the second S, and secure is obviously very important. It begins with privacy. It's important to remember when you work from home, you need to have an area where you can minimize your distractions, where you can keep it quiet, where you can protect your computer from unauthorized access and visibility. And one of the things that I think is really important to remember is in this day and age of the personal assistants, the Alexas and the Siris and things like that, it's really important to turn those off and disable them, because you never know, right, who might be paying attention there through those. And if you're working on confidential matters for your company or things that are highly secure, it's important to to remember that. So the second S is secure. The third S is supportive. And my concept here, what I've told people over the years of helping them build and improve their work at home is it's important to remember that you want your employee to be by themselves in their home office, but never alone. And if I'm a home worker, I want to be by myself in my home office, but I never want to be alone. I want to be able to have continual communication with people. In this day and age, the tools and activities that you can do remotely, like Skypes or Zooms or Microsoft Teams, Slack, any of those kinds of things. There's so many communication tools that you can stay in constant communication throughout your organization. And it's important to make sure that we over-communicate with workers when they're at home, because you don't want them to the out of sight, out of mind thing. The ability to coach people when they're working remotely is important. You can be much more supportive if you take advantage of those face-to-face tools, even though you might be in different parts of the world. You could have a coaching session over FaceTime, a performance management session over Zoom. That little difference of being able to look somebody in the eye, even if it's through a computer screen, makes a big difference versus coaching them by email or by chat. So that kind of supportive is important. Companies need to recognize that the tools that they have for communications also need to include collaborative forums and social forums. Sykes has a platform that we use for both work at home and bricks and mortar, which I'm very proud of, and the fact that we have a virtual water cooler. And so that's an area where employees can just collaborate safely and securely on anything. They can talk about sports, they can talk about the weather. It has to be appropriate, obviously, but it's a collaboration tool, and it substitutes for them doing company collaboration in open public forums. And then the last part of supportive, Mark, is technical support. It's important to remember that when you work from home, every now and then you're going to have a technical issue and you need to have somebody to call. So companies need to ensure that they set up some sort of a technical support protocol system, both live and online, for example, to help employees get through their frequently asked questions and their technical issues. And finally, the last S, Mark, is successful. There's really 6 things that are important in being successful as a home worker. First is to understand really your personal success drivers. Not everybody can work from home. And right now we are asking a lot of people to work from home that'll do it temporarily, but they won't want to do it forever. But we're also letting a lot of people work from home right now who will find that they love it, they can thrive at it, not just survive. And they'll identify their personal success drivers. And so how much interaction do you need? How much support do you need? How much coaching and feedback do you need? Those are all important things to identify, both as a home worker and as a leader of people who do work from home. We always encourage people, identify your distractions and manage those distractions. Understand what keeps you focused and what doesn't, and when you're at home, find ways to mitigate the ones that distract you, and focus in the bursts that you need. The third one would be really get ready for work every day. One of the simplest things that I always tell people about working from home is, treat it like you are going to an office. And yeah, you might wear a T-shirt instead of a button-up shirt, but at the same time, I never liked that idea of it's great to work from home because you can work in your pajamas. I always coach people to get up, get ready, get dressed, have a good breakfast, or a meal, depending on what time of day you start, and take care of your body, your diet, and your hygiene is always important. Last couple of things under success, cultivate your network. It's very easy when you work from home to lose sight of your network because they're not in the office next to you. So find ways to continue to cultivate your network, either through tools, contact, reach out to people, set up a time to just call somebody and say hello. And of course, in the current COVID environment, that's more important than ever. And the last ones are just set yourself a break schedule. Go out and get some fresh air, even if it's just a couple of minutes. Stretch. Do something that gets you moving a little bit, because it's very easy for people who work at home to start working very early in the morning and just not move. It's amazing how many people I've heard from that say, wow, Jim, I started working at 7 a.m. and at 7:30 at night I'm still working. And, it's really important to find small breaks in the middle of the day where you can, or where your employer has set break schedules for you, and get out and get some fresh air and move around, change your scenery a little bit. And then, of course, the last one for success is use your tools, rely on each other, stay working with other people, even though you're not in the same room with them, collaborate, find ways to communicate. It's fun to see all of these things that are breaking out here with the COVID isolation. People having virtual meetings and virtual happy hours, and sharing pictures. If I do 10 push-ups, I tag 10 people to do 10 more, kind of thing. Those are fun ways to really make your work at home experience very, very successful. So those are the 4 S's: safe, secure, supported, and successful.
That's great advice. Thanks, Jim. I think, I've got 2 dogs, and so they're a distraction, but they're also a great reason to get outside as well.
That's absolutely right.
Okay, so just finally then, I wanted to ask you quickly about your clients. What are you saying to your clients at the moment? And I guess there must be a message for the immediate future and getting through this crisis. And then also, how are they going to change things moving into the future?
Yeah, that's an outstanding question, Mark. First of all, what we're saying is, there's really 3 elements to it. What can we do immediately, which, as I opened up with, that was how many people can you get working from home? And there's a big difference between working from home and working at home. Working at home is when you've built a program with all of the appropriate processes. And one of the things we're telling them is understand the difference, right? So first was how quickly can you convert, which we and our colleagues, our peers in the space have done that, just impressive work on getting that done. The second is to set the expectations, as I just mentioned, that there is a difference between those that are going to temporarily work from home and having a full work at home program. So big difference between work from home and work at home. And to be mindful of that difference, because there will be some hiccups. You're going to have employees that are going to have broadband struggles in certain parts of the world, because so many people are using broadband that it'll create slowness. And so we're really being mindful of, don't assume that some of the hiccups that will occur in the next month or so are indicative of what work at home truly is. And so we're coaching them to be open-minded about that. And then at the same time, we're also, things kind of like what you and I are talking about, we're helping them identify means to have a proper, well-designed, scalable work at home program for the longevity. Because a number of our clients are already asking us, well, what are we going to do after this immediate wave? How can you help us build this solution as a long-term business continuity play? And I think we're helping them identify how, once we return to normalcy, whenever that is, or the new normal, as everybody likes to say, help them understand how to balance a bricks and mortar workforce with a true, well-designed, well-performing, well-functioning work-at-home program. And I think there's going to be a lot of interest in that. We're already hearing it, and it'll be exciting to see how that plays out. But they do need to remember that not everybody can do it, and it's not as simple as just hand somebody a piece of equipment and send them home. You do have to focus on processes and training and support and safety and security, and therefore you'll be successful after that.
Thanks for listening to the CX Files podcast. Please take a moment to review the podcast, because this helps other listeners to find it. And if you have any suggestions, then get in touch with me on Twitter or LinkedIn. I'm @Mark Hillary with 2 L's, or just search Google for Mark Hillary.